Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at the new edition of what we call Blackstone. It's Blackstone's Criminal Practice for 2018, and the general editors of it today are David Ormerod, Queen's Counsel, David Perry, Queen's Counsel, and a team of expert contributors. The publication has been produced by Oxford University Press, and Elizabeth and I have reviewed this book in comparison with Archbold, which is its rival, Archbold 2018, published by Sweet and Maxwell. And of course it's been known as the Game of Tomes in the press because there's been a debate as to which is the best. And I'm going to say right at the beginning, just so there's no misunderstanding, you've got to have both. It's as simple as that. I can tell you in practice that that is what you have to do, because if you want any sort of fail-safe guarantees, if something isn't in one of them, it'll be in the other. And I'm afraid that is the bottom line. So you have to have a reasonably expansive bank account to take all of this into consideration. Now, Elizabeth and I have given the title of our book review for Blackstone for this new edition. We've reviewed it before. We've said it's designed specifically for the needs of users. The latest edition of Blackstone's comes with a full range of digital resources, and that of course is very much what we are now seeing within the practitioner bookshelf. So you've got the actual paper versions of the books, and you've also now got digital resources to go with it. Let's have a look at the book first of all, because you've seen it before, I'm sure. This is the book itself. It's very heavy. There we go, there's the front, and then there's the spine, and then there's nothing much on the back. Now you can see little shaded areas, and they will point out to the bits that are important. For instance, the main bit is specifically with the sectioning of the various parts of the book. Let's start at the back. On the inside back cover there's a lot of very useful information, useful references. Then on the front you've got the list of offences structured and linked to the section numbers, A, B, C, etc. Now, and again, that's where the shaded areas come in, because that's where the sections can be found. At the back, you've also got a useful calendar, and then behind that, actually in the book itself, it runs to basically 3,200 odd pages, and you can see that the index is extremely detailed, and it's by section and paragraph numbering in the sections. So that's how you actually find the information. The index, again, that's the start of it. It doesn't tell you how to use the index, but that's actually how you do. And that's useful to tell you because some books, each book can be different. Then getting into there's an appendix 4 at the back there. And then as we get into the book itself, you can see with the various sections. This is section F. You can see the structure of it. There's the numbering at the side and a lot of detailed information throughout. So you can see basically how it runs through. Now if we go to the front of the book, as I say, it's a very heavy book. You need to be fairly strong for both this and for the other book we're going to look at later. So do have a look at our reviews, which are on both the web, and they're actually on YouTube and in the journals too. There is the front page. You can see the huge number of people involved. I can't go through them by name. There's the detail about the book itself, and then there's the preface. The preface is always worth reading. It's by Professor Ormerod and David Perry. But it is worth reading because it tells you what's changed. And quite a lot has changed, because this is an area of law which is very, very subject to case law and of course statutory intervention as well. There's the abbreviations section, and then moving on from there, we've got a list then of all of the contributors. Let me show the names there and there. As I say, I can't go through them all because there are too many of them. Many people you will know through various ways. The summary of contents is there, and that summarises what you could be looking for, and it's a short summary, so it's actually quite helpful to have that. Excuse me. Then you've got the table of cases, and of course the cases are very substantial. There are a lot of cases, and then after the cases you've got the table of statutes. There's a lot of statutory intervention, and of course obviously an intent still to codify everything. And after the table of statutes, you've got the table of statutory instruments, relatively short in comparison, and then after that you've got a very useful table of practice directions, which I will just show you there. The practice directions again being very important. Then you've got the table of codes of conduct, again very useful information, and then guidelines, so you see how complex the whole of the subject matter has become. Then you've got, in addition to that, after the guidelines, you've got protocols and circulars there. Then you've got the international treaties and conventions, and then after that you've got European legislation. And don't think because we're leaving Europe we're not going to have any of this in the future, because we certainly are. It's not ended at all. There's still going to be a tremendous amount of cross fertilisation in the global world. Right, here's section A. Starts off with actus reus. It has a short chapter index or section index right at the beginning. You have an introduction, and then you have the paragraph numbering, which you can see on the side there, and then the book runs through, and that's page 1, running all the way through, and you can see how it's laid out, lots of subheadings and so on. And then the book runs all the way through, so that's section A, which you can see there, and then you see the shaded areas for each of the other sections. Now I hope that that will give you some idea of how this book is actually structured, because quite a lot of people who know about the book, not practitioners, but they actually know about the book, won't necessarily know how the book is actually it's actually structured and how you use it. So I think from that point of view it's very, very helpful. And what you do have is you do have a dividing ribbon, in fact several dividing ribbons. There's a blue one, you can see there's a blue one there, and then there's a green one as well, which is here. And that again is quite useful. One of the reasons I don't like the digital stuff very much is because quite often I'm going to want to compare one page and cross-refer it to something else. And I've really found that very difficult to do with the digital system, mainly because I'm used to books. And also, of course, the digital system doesn't really cater for extensive cross-referencing to different pages. That being a problem, of course, of the digital side. Now, in addition to the criminal practice which was produced, we've then got the supplement, because as soon as they produced the criminal practice 2018, they had to do a supplement to go with it. Again, shaded areas, that's for basically the criminal procedure rules themselves, and then you've got the various parts which are looked at here. And this criminal practice, the supplement, again you can see the structure of that, and then you can see the comments, the introduction, why they've had to do it, and then you've got the contents section. So I do suggest that when you are dealing with a case, you do make sure that you see both of these books, so that you've got some idea of any changes. And of course they do produce a very useful guide as well for the print and the digital pack, which includes all of the supplements, so you get the service from OUP. And I have to say, I think Oxford University Press have done a magnificent job here to produce this work, because it is, I remember when it first came out, and I reviewed it then many years ago now, and I have to say that I think that since that time we've moved tremendously in this particular area of substantive law. Obviously there are comments about how big it's become, how bulky and so forth. That's inevitable until the next wave comes in and things change again. But at the moment, this service offered by OUP is very good. So what do we actually say about the book? Well, we say this: lawyers whose practice involves frequent attendance in the criminal courts of England and Wales will welcome this latest edition from Oxford University Press of Blackstone's criminal practice. And as you can see, it doesn't want to stand up either, so I'm going to put that on its side there. The problem is it's extremely heavy, but I think that will be nice and anchored. So as I say, we've got OUP producing Blackstone's criminal practice for 2018. And it's pointed out by the publishers that Blackstone's is once again the standard criminal text provided in the Crown Courts and Criminal Division of the Court of Appeal and the Magistrates Court, and thus it follows the recommendations of the Judicial Executive Board. Now, as most practitioners will be aware, this decision has prompted more than a little controversy, which has recently attracted public attention in the media, certainly in the legal press. The resulting publicity, of course, has, in our view, in no way diminished the reputation or the obvious value and virtue of Blackstone's. And as many have argued, it only serves to enhance the towering reputation for clarity and authority that Blackstone's has acquired in the years following its initial publication in 1991. Now, a small wonder then that Blackstone's is well established now as the standard text for students reading for the bar in England and Wales. And I'm going to interject here and just say that one of the reasons that Blackstone produced criminal practice, it was a breath of fresh air, because I and a lot of other practitioners at that time did find Archbold, which was published not annually but every 3 years and was in 2 volumes, incredibly difficult sometimes to follow through. And one of the aims was to by producing the criminal practice, was to try to make it easier to read. They did succeed with that aim, and I'm very grateful to everybody because it made our lives a lot easier. It's not an easy jurisdiction to deal with in any event. Now, as students, practitioners and judges can attest, Blackstone's, despite it's almost actually 3,500 pages, bulk, nearly 3,700 if you take the case lists and everything in, it's become known as a standalone, easy to access work of reference, logically organised with ease of use and the needs of practitioners very much in mind, and I would wholeheartedly agree with their mission. Now, it's important to note the detailed table of contents, the lengthy index, the tabbed pages and the numbered paragraphs throughout, which does make it pretty easy for you to find things quite quickly. And as you would expect, research resources abound throughout, and there are over 200 pages containing 9 tables of cases, statutes, codes of guidance, conduct and so forth. Now, like its main rival, Blackstone aims to remain ever up to date, and this latest edition includes all the major developments in legislation and case law that have taken place over the past 12 months. Closely examined, for example, are the following: the Policing and Crime Act 2017, with its focus on bail and firearms, and the Criminal Finance Act 2017 on tax evasion. These are all issues, of course, which have been raised in the press, and people have been very critical of bail extensions and so forth, and of course also tax evasion. Now, you've also got, of course, the Criminal Procedure Rules and the Criminal Practice Directions. That's CRIM-PR and CRIM-PD, which have been included up to date to October 2017. The problem is, which is why we've got the supplement, is that there are always going to be changes, so you've got to keep it up to date as possible. And I know, of course, everybody does, because it's not about CPD, continuous professional development. Either you know what's going on and you're taking the time to do so, or don't bother, because frankly you've got to keep up to date. And it's the same for me in any of the jurisdictions I practice, and depending on the case you therefore do the necessary reading and briefing beforehand to make sure you're up to speed. Now, the new edition also contains excuse me, analysis by the expert Blackstone team of all the important decisions from the appellate courts, including the Supreme Court. Although too numerous to list here in full, the relevant cases would include such issues as in the Supreme Court are following: diminished responsibility, always a big one, confiscation and bad character. And of course similar issues emanate from the appellate court as well, together with the other matters which we have, ranging from self-defence, gross negligence and manslaughter, to things like supporting terrorism and DNA, and where we're going with DNA evidence at the moment. And I think it's important to note that Blackstone's isn't just a lengthy and authoritative work. It's huge and it's big and you need a trolley for it. However, it offers a full service consisting of a print and digital pack as well, to include 3 cumulative updating supplements. This is the first one, which actually came with the actual 2018 edition, and you get 2 more, and you get all of the stuff via email and the web. So I think that's quite important. And of course the first of these is Supplement 1. It's published simultaneously now with the main volume and is included with your purchase of Blackstone's. And as I've said to you before, the problem is keeping up to date and making sure you are as switched on as you can be. I mean, when I first started reading law, we had the Criminal Law Review. We didn't really have the amount of information and the sheer bulk that we've now got. And that, of course, is something we have to cater for. The essential appendix material that's contained is updated in the 2 supplements that are going to follow. As I say, there'll be hefty volumes in themselves, and they're published in glossy paperback format, not the hardback format, and they're about 800 or so pages in length. Now, if it's a complete digital service you want, that's precisely what you get, and it's free, of course, too. I think OUP give us a very good service here, and I'm very grateful to them. Blackstone's is accessible on and offline via a wide range of devices. That's from the PC and the Mac and Android to iPad and iPhone today. Although, frankly, as I've said before, you've got to know how to use it, and it's got a lot of drawbacks, I have to say, using the technology. At least that's my opinion. I'm sure other people may not agree, but I certainly have found it not as easy as I would like it to be. Email updates, as I say, you'll get from the main work, which come monthly, and that's from OUP. It's actually, you've also got the Blackstone's Criminal Practice Quarterly, which is emailed 4 times yearly in downloadable format to deliver the latest developments in criminal law and sentencing. And now it's, we know, a long-established work of reference. Not as long as Archbold, obviously, but long. And Blackstone's Criminal Practice is nevertheless a book which exudes modernity with a view to keeping relentlessly up to date with changes in the law. And that's exactly what they do. It's well written too, and I'm not making any judgment about other publications, but it's easy to read, and I think that's one of the reasons why bar students at the bar school have had this book to use, because it is easy. Let me give you a quote at the end. Every advocate can be 100% confident, as the publishers have confidently put it, that Blackstone's will be in every court. And in fact, it is. The editors have endeavoured to state the law as it is at August 2017. Now, as I've said, the game of tomes between Blackstone and Archbold, which is tucked behind there, which I've reviewed separately, that's an ongoing issue. I think it's been quite amusing more than anything else, because frankly, like all practitioner books, you use the book that you're comfortable with. And I'm actually comfortable with both of them personally. The trouble is it does cost a bit more, but that in this day and age you have to pay for it. I've got the white book nestling behind and the red book too, and you can see very quickly that your practitioner library is actually an expensive annual piece of expenditure. So we just have to, that's part and parcel of what we do. Anyway, there is just a final point, and that's a very big vote of thanks to OUP, but to all the people who've been involved in producing this, because this is actually where the law is, it's where the practice is, and even for people who are unqualified, these books are relatively easy to follow through once you understand how they're structured. And this video is designed to show you just a little bit of the ease with which you can actually access the book. And let me just show you finally, this is the big section. This is on assets recovery. It's actually property in section D, and that you see again how heavy it is to move around. But you can see again, just opening it in the middle, the standard structure throughout. There's everything that you need to know. And if we just go further on, this is we're going to summary trial, general and preliminary matters. Again, that's for the magistrates court. You can see a huge amount of help, a lot of advice. And as I've said before, do keep up to date, because things change and you can't rely on Google and the internet. You've got to know your way around these books. Thank you to all, and good luck with all your endeavours. Bye-bye.